Okay. Yes, that's on. Good afternoon. Hopefully everybody is a little bit awake for the second to last talk. Just so you know, I am a mover. And so I would just like everybody to move a little bit with me because I know, coffee was a while ago. So just take your arms up and stretch. Yes, thank you. And say stage. All right, thank you. So my name is Jamē McCray. I work at the University of Delaware in the College of Earth, Ocean, and Environment. And I work at Delaware Sea Grant. And that job does not necessarily have me on stage. It was not in the job description. However, it's a place that I think is very valuable for the sciences. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about science on stage and how scientists can collaborate, but really collaborate with performing artists and what both artists and scientists can gain from that collaboration. So we're going to start in the ivory tower where I spent many hours toiling during my dissertation. Okay, so my ivory tower looks a little bit more like this, and I was looking at really complex problems, looking at environmental issues. How are we developing our coastline? What do the lights look like in that area in Florida, and how does that impact sea turtles? So we know what happens. You have night lights. Sea turtles are going to head in the wrong direction. You are going to get lots of death. Okay, so we have that information, but what do we do about it? And how do you communicate with the public to come up with these harder answers? You know, policy decisions are never black and white, right? So our conversations about how to solve these policy issues are basically looking like this now, right? So this could be us talking about climate change. This could be people deciding whether or not to pass a lighting ordinance in Florida to protect those turtles. This could be, what are we going to do with our water resources, right? But everybody has facts, and I've got my facts, and you have your facts, and we just yell the facts at each other. So not something that is really conducive to profitable engagement, right? We're still not really moving forward and answering, where do we go from here? What are our choices? How can we have some real discourse? So I'm thinking, all right, we're not talking, we're using facts. I'm going to go to the dance studio because I just need to get out of my head. I realized that the arts are something that we can use to sort of get out of this situation, to move things into an area that's a little bit different, right? So you don't come up on those hard lines and those paradigms that are operating. So we're going to combine these two different viewpoints and combine those in a team. And so we want to have a transdisciplinary team, and that's characterized by deliberate exchanges of knowledge and skills. So you've got your scientists and artists really deliberately sharing how they do their craft, and that expertise is going to allow you to transcend either a hard science paper or a just general very abstract modern dance. So that's the space that I'm looking to work in. Also, because I'm an academic, I'm like, okay, that's the space I want to work in. What do those kind of collaborations look like, right? And Tuckman has a great model for how you can find really good collaboration, effective collaboration. And in this you have forming, storming, norming, and performing. I don't know that he was thinking about the same type of performing, but it works. So I wanted to find a venue where I could collaborate in a space that followed this model, because we've got hard data that shows that these types of models form productive collaborations. So how do you find this type of thing? You go to the almighty Oracle. Yes. So looking through Google, I found a lot of art science residencies where you as a scientist or you as an artist could go away and be by yourself, in really beautiful areas, really amazing places that had a lot of ecological value, but they weren't quite what I was looking for because they didn't really allow for that collaboration that I wanted. What I did find was the Superhero Clubhouse here in New York, and they had a Science and Stage collaborative fellowship. So I was looking through the fellowship, and I said, oh my goodness, their process completely conforms to Tuckman's model. Let's try it out. So what do they have? They have 3 scientists, 3 theater artists, and then they have given us the task to create an original piece of theater focused on climate change. So these are my wonderful colleagues for this, and that's kind of a big task initially. I've never created, a 30-minute piece of theater. I have been in dances, but how does that work, right? I've got my 3 theater artists. So what do? First, we form a group. We go out and we get to go see a lot of the science art collaboration that's already going on in the city. We get to talk about that, so we're creating common language. We're, as scientists, sharing what we're researching with the artists and having discussions. And then the artists are sharing some of their craft with us. So there's that mutual exchange that we talked about in the beginning, right? I don't tend to write songs. Anybody here, songwriter? We've got one. But in general, not a skill that one develops. So one of our exercises was to write a song. And you learn that as an artist, there is a lot of method and there is a lot that goes into that craft, right? And so learning that, so it's not like, it's just easy to pick up a pen and like anybody can do that. Anybody can draw, anybody can write a song. You really get to understand what goes behind that other person's work. And that helps really form the group and build that mutual trust, language, and understanding. So moving on to the next part, storming. This is an actual graphic of what we thought that project would look like originally, right? So coming together, a lot of ideas going out there, a lot of discourse. Not very linear. We haven't found our narrative yet. What is that going to be? So spending many hours with the group together to come up with the general idea. So we went from we're going to do climate change to something with water resources, down to how are rain patterns changing and how could it then affect a particular area. So by the time we come into our norming stage, we actually have a focus. We've found a narrative. We found some characters that we're interested in exploring. Now, exploring them in an artistic fashion, but also with the 3 scientists going back and saying, yeah, I know that you really wanted to put a sea otter in that scene, But sea otters are not going to be found in that particular environment. So why don't we use a mallard instead? So you're creating a world that is actually true to what the ecology would be and what that would look like. But you're also creating a world with movement and depth and language, and that has high artistic value as well. And lastly, we move on, and we're moving on to the performing. Now, in performing, according to Tuckman, that's where everyone is working as one, right? Now, in our case, we are literally working as one because we are presenting our play on stage. So what does that look like? Because I often get a lot of confused faces when I say, I do dance or I do performance about environmental topics, and I get the, So, if we could get the sound.
What did she say? According to supermodels, it's going to be very dry. What did she say? According to climate scientists, the weather's about to be drier than her personality.
After all the work we did to preserve the river. I mean, look, isn't your cousin's B&B doing really well these days? I don't understand how you could just...
The farms are almost at their breaking point. You know I wouldn't be proposing this if it weren't so serious.
I know that this is not where things are going around here. Believe me, progress is good. But for now, this is where I am, and where I am needs more of that river.
So our play is not particularly didactic. We're not saying this is the answer, this is how a small town should deal with drought and whether we divert some water from the river for farms, because I can't answer that question for somebody else's community. But I can provide a space that allows people to come together and have that conversation, right? So they can figure out what is best for them, what is best for their community, what is best at a personal level. So while we are, talking about climate change, we can use the performing arts to make things a lot more personal, to bring them down to the personal level. So you can go, is this affecting me? Yeah, there are things that maybe I'm not attributing to climate change that are happening in my everyday life. So I really do like that sort of area. And we're creating together something that's a lot more than what would be possible if I were, just to sit down and go, I'm going to write or produce a play about climate change in my own silo. We definitely wouldn't have had the song, but I really want to ask all of you, where can you make space in your research to help people ask questions that help people wrestle with what are we going to do next, right? And I also would like you guys to make time to form deep collaborations with other people from different disciplines. It takes longer, You don't get to go away and work and then come back together and then just put this piece and this piece, because when you're working together, what someone else has to say is going to then affect what you do and change it in ways that you would never dream possible if you weren't in a relationship with that other person. So thank you.